there's a lot of big expectations for me in 21 in Maui. And so I may have to come with a little something different, sideline attire. One thing it won't be, it'll be very loose, man. I can guarantee that.
I cannot wait. You have to give us the scoop on that, and we'll be sitting courtside covering the event, and
Could you coach with a shirt off?
All right, joining us now from his home in South Bend, Indiana, is a man that we referred to as a white whale in the last episode. It is one of our favorite coaches in all of college basketball. He is the all-time wins leader in Notre Dame basketball history, passing Digger Phelps a couple years ago. He's also been called many times over the loosest coach in America, and his name is Mike Brey. Coach, I want to start with the loosest coach in America thing. How is the loosest coach in America handling one of the most tense eras in American history with this quarantine and all that kind of stuff? How are those two situations reconciled?
Well, you know, man, I'm trying to stay loose and keep my team loose. You know, the interesting thing is with your players that are back home, they're starting to feel like all of us, those walls closing in a little bit because we've been, you know, locked up for a while. And they keep asking about when can we come back and when's summer school going to start. And I can't answer any of those questions. And you know, I'm hoping we just have some kind of summer school, which that's way up in the air. So, you know, I end up trying to keep them loose and try to talk to them about the season and, hey, here's who we're playing. And, you know, God, next year, here's some things. And just to give them a little hope, and probably it's therapy for me too, quite frankly. We've certainly all had a lot of time to kind of reevaluate our program and what we do. And I've tried to like get into just a better workout routine. You know, I've tried to, I mean, there's no excuses not to eat right because you're controlling most of your meals now, right? No late night pizza or anything, or at least, you know, they're not open. So I've just tried to kind of get in better shape and hopefully that helps me mentally because it's been a while now and we just need the weather to break at South Bend so I can get out more.
Yeah, Coach, and you mentioned like the ability to reevaluate the program, kind of look at things, like because you have so much time on your hand, but you're also, you know, optimistic. It seems at all times. That's why we say you're the loosest coach in America. So, how are you able to use this time to flip things forward positively, even though there is the unknown, right? But you can kind of keep everyone engaged. Are you having Zoom conference calls with your team? What's the plan for the Mike Brey machine to keep rolling as we all stay at home?
Hey, you should have seen the loosest coach in America last season when we lost 19 games. Man, did I need therapy. But
Coach, the Florida State game. I remember the Florida State game.
Yeah, we had two of them where I had a little snap. It cost me $20,000 to Florida State. But you know, after that fine, we went 9-4. So I'm trying to figure out when to get the fine next season to get on a run. No, I am a Zoom master now after the last 3 weeks. I had no idea what Zoom was 3 weeks ago, but recruiting wise, we've gotten 2 verbal commitments and we signed both kids yesterday. Trey Wirtz, a transfer from Santa Clara, and Tony Sanders, a high school prospect from Florida, and they never made a visit. It was all by way of Zoom, as you're seeing on every day. Kids are making decisions. So we're Zooming. And then yesterday I Zoomed with my team, my 9 returning guys and my staff. And just so you can see them a little bit, we all have horrible hair because we have not been able to get to the barber. But, you know, you're trying to stay. I think the most important prospects to recruit is my current team. They're all home. I don't want anybody to get crazy and think, you know, they got to go somewhere else. And, you know, like that transfer portal is like that piece of pizza you shouldn't eat late at night. They're like, don't touch enter. Don't touch enter. You just stay with us and you hang in there. So yeah, I think it's my job to kind of be positive with them, and we're going to get through it. And it's no different. I told it's no different than, you know, I said, fellas, sometimes, you know, we start a game and someone goes on a 10-0 run and I call a timeout and guys are frustrated and everything. Fellas, it's a long game. Relax. We still got 35 minutes to play. Relax, you know, and try to keep us calm and try to keep our guys in a routine. The big thing is, what's your routine, guys? You got to have a routine. and certainly they're doing their distance learning and their online stuff. I'm just hoping I get to see them before the fall semester because, it'd be great if we could get some summer school, but I'm also very realistic that August 20th may be the next time we're all together.
Yeah, be honest, Coach. When you were recruiting via Zoom, were you showing actual shots of campus, or were you like sprinkling in some shots of Pepperdine's campus and some Maui, some pictures you have from Maui, where you're like, here's me at here's me by Notre Dame Stadium, and it's you on the beaches of Maui. And...
you can really have fun with the Zoom. Yeah, show the gold dome, and then like show me boogie boarding, and stuff like that. So no question. That's a great point. We could really have fun with this thing, but my assistants have done a great job with their PowerPoint. It's our stadium and all our things. And what I found, and you guys have seen it, there's a sense of urgency with the prospect and the prospect's family in this crisis where, kids used to be a little bit of, I've made 3 visits. I kind of know what I want to do, but I'll take another visit. And why don't you come back to the school and talk to me? And kids, they've dragged it out a little bit. Everyone's having to be decisive, and kids are taking their opportunities, and because they know, you better jump on it. So it's a really interesting dynamic in recruiting. And I don't know if I'm going to see the 2 young men I signed until August 20th, face to face. Might be the first time I meet them.
That's weird. Yeah.
Really unusual.
Coach, does it have the same ring to it when you put the rings on the table over Zoom? Does it have the same, impact when people see all that on the table, or is it harder that way?
It's a little harder that way.
Yeah.
I think face to face it can be a little more powerful, and so but I give credit to I have a young staff, man, and they're creative, and they're so good with all the social media and all the stuff they put together. They put together some really good stuff.
While we're on the topic of recruiting, you have found success recruiting, we'll say, a different type of player than maybe the rest of the country is seeking to recruit, which isn't to say you haven't brought in good players. I mean, you've had your share of McDonald's All-Americans and great guys that come in, but I think you might agree with me that like you're looking for the diamonds in the rough, the Matt Farrell, guys like that. Like I think have always been a staple of Notre Dame. So when you're actually recruiting, what is it that you're looking for without spilling too many secrets here? What is it that,
in my 20 years, we've only had 2 McDonald's All-Americans, Chris Thomas and Luke Zeller, but we have been able to find, you mentioned a Matt Farrell, a Pat Connaughton, a Bonzie Colson, a John Mooney, who just graduated. There's a long line of 4- and 5-year guys that we have found and that we just feel can get better. We're not going to get the one and done guy. It's not going to be a fit for us. So who can we invest in that's going to get better? Luckily, fortunately, our track record has been guys get better. I can show big guys that we're recruiting, Johnny Mooney's story, Bonzie Colson's story, Luke Herringody's story, guys that spent time with us and got better and then had great senior years. We're a throwback that way. Your best year should be your senior year. Have a great senior year. Mooney certainly had that. Even Gibbs really had a heck of a senior year for us this year. So that's kind of what we've looked for. And it does fit because the kids that are really intrigued with us are looking at getting that degree from Notre Dame and spending 4 years with us. So it's kind of a good philosophy and a good fit. Other than 2 seasons ago where we were really young, we've been able to stay old because of that. And my phrase has been get old and stay old. And I only violated that one time in my 20 years, and we lost 19 games because of it. We got older this year. We won 20, and we probably would have been an NIT team. And we're old coming back next year. I don't want to go through that. I'm too old to go through the young rotation again. No way. Not doing that again.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate that ideology, Coach. And speaking of that ideology about being a 4-year program, a school that you wait for the degree, that was what Duke, maybe what most people consider Duke to be in the 90s. And you were there early on in those Duke days. Did you take some of what they were doing at Duke back then and implement it at Notre Dame, or is this more of the Mike Brey moves?
Well, no, I think, when Tommy Amaker and I were the full-time assistants at Duke, and what a run and what a fortunate situation for me to be with Mike Kay those 8 years. It was Thomas Hill and Billy. It was 4-year guys. Now, you look back to Hurley, Hill, and Leitner. In this climate, they probably wouldn't have stayed 4 years because, after their sophomore years and Grant after his freshman year, they all would have been lottery picks or first-round picks. So, it was almost a way of thinking that you just stayed 4 years back then. And so, but we had some other guy, Chris Collins, who's coaching at Northwestern, Steve Wojciechowski, 2 guys I recruited. Those were 4-year guys. And so, that did stick with me when I left. Certainly, Duke has kind of been in different territory now with, the one and done guys. And that's kind of how they've chosen to build the program, I should say. And they're hard to deal with every year because of it. But for us and our mission at Notre Dame, I think it's been really good for us to 4 and 5 year guys that are going to grow old with us.
Tate broke the Duke seal, so I might as well kind of go down that road a little bit more. I think you've told the story. You've probably told the story many times in your life, but maybe for a new audience, Coach. Before you were an assistant at Duke, which, by the way, you show up at Duke. I don't know. You don't stick your chest out and declare this as much as you should. Duke goes on. Would you go on 5 straight Final Fours your first 5 years at Duke? As soon as you get there,
you
rip off 5 Final.
Unbelievable run. So I got there in '87, and the 8 years we were there, we went to 6 Final Fours, and we went 5 in a row. I mean, are you kidding me?
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Tommy and I would, the year we got knocked out by Jason Kidd in Chicago, he was a freshman. Cal beat us. Grant Hill was hurt. Hurley, I think, was a senior. We got knocked out in the Sweet 16. Tommy and I go to New Orleans to the Final Four to the coaches convention. Well, the previous 5 years, we were in the Final Four. We didn't know what to do. We checked in the headquarter hotel, and I looked at Tommy and I said, what do you do? So we went around the corner and got oysters, and we're asking coaches, they say, hey, there's a great clinic over here, and you go do this, and you can hang there. And that's how spoiled we were, and I was. And 6 out of 8, and it was, an amazing run. Crazy.
And it's as soon as you showed up. So I have a 2-part question about the Duke situation. Number one, before you get to Duke, you're an assistant, I believe, at DeMatha.
Was.
So the first part of my question is, how does a guy go from an assistant coach at DeMatha High School to now being an assistant coach at one of the best programs in college basketball? How do you make that jump? And my second part is, how have you built for all these guys that we've been mentioning that are Duke disciples, that are Coach K disciples, have the shadow of Coach K over them everywhere they've gone. For you, I feel like the only reason people remember that you coached at Duke is because Dickie V brings it up every time you guys play. Otherwise, you've kind of built your own thing away from Coach K, away from your Duke tenure. How have you been able to do that? And is that a conscious thing? So
no, it's probably the second part of that I'll take first. Maybe because I didn't play for Mike. All those guys that are out there played for Mike. And quite frankly, in 1987, I was the last non-player that was going to get a job there because Amaker was kind of in the bullpen warming up, but he wasn't quite ready to give up playing. So I got in there, and I was very fortunate. I got 8 unbelievable years, and it prepared me well. Back to the DeMatha thing, one of the things that helped was we had a lot of good players in our gym, and everybody was coming through to recruit them. Ferry and Danny Ferry was the premier guy at the time. When I went back after playing at GW with Coach Wooten, the one thing he really sold me on was, and I could have stayed as a grad assistant at GW. He said, if you want to be a college coach, whatever you want to be, head high school, you need to have your own team, and you're going to have the JV. I was 22 years old. I had the JV. I had my own team. I had to make decisions, the whole bit, and then I helped him with the varsity. And for 5 years, here comes everybody in to recruit our guys, and I got to know all of them because Coach Wooten at the time, God rest his soul, we lost him in January, but an amazing man, an amazing teacher and mentor. He was tired of dealing with recruiting. So he said, Mike, just tell Dean Smith what time Danny Ferry's home visit is tonight, and tell Mike Krzyzewski and so here's this young guy with Morgan who developed an unbelievable network. And then Mike had an opening. A guy by the name of Chuck Swenson took the William and Mary job. Mm-hmm. And Mike wanted a guy that was going to be with him a while, a young guy. And I was going to be there. I wasn't going to be there for a year or two and then try and get a head job. And I was a high school assistant. Of course, I was with Morgan Wooten, who was, gold and royalty and coaching. And that probably was a great endorsement. And I got down there and was able to give Mike 8 years and then went on to Delaware. So those were the dynamics at play, and timing in life is everything. And I was just so fortunate that some of his guys weren't ready to come back and coach yet.
Mm-hmm. Coach, what was the most shocking thing that you learned from those Duke practices? Because a lot of people, I think there's a misconception. Now, Coach K, we all know him as an elder statesman, as a, sort of an ambassador for the game. And he speaks with, such authority on things. And he's almost like a politician. But back in those days, he was fired up because he had, the Jimmy V's of the worlds, the Dean Smiths of the worlds. He was, going for the crown down in ACC country. So what was it like to get in those practices, and how shocked were you by the language that you heard out of Coach K back then?
You got a scatter report on it. Well, the one thing about him, he is an amazing competitor on a daily basis. Mm-hmm. One of his phrases was compete every day. Mm-hmm. And certainly in the off season, even now, we're all competing and recruiting and all of those things. And so he had a great intensity about him mm-hmm. that I think was contagious with his staff and certainly with his players. And probably when I was with him, and this is how good he's adapted. Probably when I was with him, there was some fear by all of us. I don't think that's the case as much anymore with the players. I think the mm-hmm. players he recruits now that are going to come, and at least the ones that are going to be just one and done, he's got a little bit different rapport with them now. And I think that's really brilliant on his part that he's adjusted. But Tommy Emmerich and I were scared of him when we were around. We didn't know what to expect day to day, and we were ready to put out fires. But, I'm indebted to him. I mean, he trained me to be ready to be a head coach at the University of Delaware. And, now I got to bang heads with him every year. But I do enjoy seeing him at our league meetings and on the road, and we reminisce a lot.
That's great.
I want to pivot away from the Duke stuff, because that's enough Duke talk. That's Tate's gonna pass out if we spend too much time talking about Duke. He's a Carolina guy. Yeah. I want to talk about something that's far more important, which is you sitting courtside at the NBA Finals. This is Tate and I were watching the game together, where I forget what the shot was. They were showing one of the.
It was Curry. It was a shot of Stephen Curry in like the second quarter, and you're right behind him, right there.
Right there. And the story on that is, Glenn Murphy, one of our big basketball supporters in mm-hmm. Toronto, those are his seats.
Okay.
And good Irish Catholic from up in Toronto, basketball guy. And so he said, why don't you come up? And I'm like, I'm in. So we go up, and it was electric, because they thought they were going to close it out that night. Mm-hmm. And when they sang "Oh Canada" that night, and then there's Wayne Gretzky right across, I'm like, come on, man, this is too good to be true. Of course, the Warriors win it, or they probably would have burned the city down, and I never would have got out of Toronto. And my guy was so down. But I'll tell you a great story about that night. So I know the seats are good, but I didn't know they were that out there as you guys saw, because all my boys were texting me. I'm sitting there, and the Warriors bench is to the left, right there. And like Quinn Cook's coming by, and we recruited him. He's a Dematha guy. Hey, coach, what's that? And I'm like, I'm trying to shake down. I'm like, I don't want to. So there's a part in the second quarter where Kerr's getting on the officials, and he walks up to half court, because there's no coaching box in the NBA, as you guys know. Mm-hmm. So he walks right up, and he's getting on the officials about, he thinks the Raptors are traveling and they're not calling it. And he turns around and he goes, Mike, if this was a college game, they would have called 5 walks already. And I'm like, Coach, yes, please keep walking. And I got my head down, and Glenn Murphy's like, now that was unbelievable.
Yeah.
So anyways, it was, I know everybody was like, how the hell did you get those seats? I had a good hookup with one of our alums.
We were watching the game together. We were at a bar, right, Tate? We saw you. And he and I were freaking out, and we were trying to explain to everybody at this bar in Los Angeles that that's the Notre Dame coach. And like, no one in LA watches sports to begin with, much less like college basketball, Notre Dame. And so
Right, right.
we're like, oh my God, is that Mike Brey? And everyone's like, what? What's going on?
Oh, my players. You could imagine my players. I didn't tell them. They're like, Coach, I see you, man. How'd you get those seats? What's up? You know, so I had a lot of explaining to do, but it was fun. It was a lot of fun. And the only tough thing was they lost. Of course, they won it the next game. They finally iced it the next game.
I was going to say, Coach, I thought that you were still recruiting Klay Thompson. So I thought someone's going to have to break the news to you that he passed on.
That miss. His dad told me on the visit, he said, Michael Thompson said, Coach, my son's going to come to Notre Dame. I'm like, oh my God, we're stealing one off the West Coast. And at the end of the day, he wanted to play in the Pac-12 so much that he stayed and played at Washington State, and the rest is history. So
I mean, you really have to want to play in the Pac-12 to go to Washington State, I think. I mean,
I'm thinking we're going to get him. UCLA didn't want him. Arizona didn't want him. USC didn't want him. Gonzaga didn't want him. I said, we're going to snatch this one out of there. And we didn't. So, but yeah, my old assistant, who's now with the Atlantic 10, we talk about that one all the time.
Oh man. All right. We want to do this thing with you. So you are considered one of the best hangs in college basketball. Guys that spend time around you are like, that guy is a great guy to grab a beer with, or just talk about anything. I mean, if so far, what were we, 20 minutes into this, and it's becoming evident as to why you get that reputation. Tate and I, because we're desperate for quarantine content, we've been doing our starting fives, and we come up with a topic, and then we do like a list of 5 things. And we wanted you to help us out with this, because our topic today, in honor of you being on the podcast, is our top 5 college basketball coaches to hang out with, just to hang with and talk nonsense. And I imagine you're going to be on one of our lists at least.
Absolutely, 100%.
So we'll defer to you. Do you want to be involved in this? Do you want to give your top 5, or do you just want to offer commentary on our top 5, Coach?
Why don't you go with your top 5? Let me add some commentary, and after I hear your top 5, maybe I'll have some honorable mentions.
Okay, so Tate, why don't you go ahead?
All right, number 5 for me, Coach, and this is a guy that he's been around for a long time. In fact, people probably don't even know how long he's been around, and that's Coach Leonard Hamilton from the Florida State Seminoles. He makes great mac and cheese. He's a player's coach. He obviously won the ACC tournament this year, which was a great run by the Florida State Seminoles. We all remember that great run by Florida State in the ACC tournament.
They didn't even break a sweat. They won the ACC tournament without breaking a sweat.
They absolutely dominated. So there's number 5 for me, Coach Leonard Hamilton. Is that a good pick, Coach Brey?
That's a great pick. He is a good friend, and you're right, just one of the good guys, and you would send your son to play for him. A lot of fun. Do you know he is a big gospel music collector?
Oh, wow.
I had no idea.
I didn't know that.
Huge. He has a huge collection of gospel music, and I love him to death. And I'll tell you one thing. I guess he's 70 or 70. This guy looks like he's 48 still.
Yes.
And he may be 70 or late 60s. He is in great shape, and he has always got a great team. One of the good guys and one of the veterans. That's a great pick.
You get those pictures from back in the day when he had the big glasses. He looks younger now than he does with those things.
You're right. You're right. That's back in the day.
All right, my number 5 pick is Ed Cooley. He is a big time sideline antics guy, which can go wrong. There are coaches that have too many antics, and it doesn't look like it'd be fun to hang out with. But Ed Cooley, to me, like, his antics seem fun. I've seen him mic'd up in a few different games, and his banter with the refs is always hilarious to me. And then on top of it all, he covered his butt in that one game when he tore his pants. And that, to me, says that's a guy who does not take himself too seriously, knows how to have a good time. So I have Ed Cooley at number 5.
A great pick.
Okay.
A great pick. And you know what you said there at the end, he doesn't take himself too seriously, and he is fun to be around. Served on the NABC board with him. He always kept it light. Now, you know, his pants don't split as much anymore because he lost 30 pounds, maybe 40. He's got himself in great shape. He lost a lot of weight, but he is an unbelievable fit for Providence, and what he's done at Providence with the program. But no matter where you are, recruiting, whatever, the dog days of the July Trail, you sit at a game with Ed Cooley, you laugh, and one of the good guys.
All right. We love that. Ed Cooley, number 5 on your list. All right, here we go, Coach. I'm going to keep it going. I got number 4 on my list. Ooh, this is a real tough one because I thought he'd be higher on my list, but we saw him in sweatpants in 2017 in San Antonio, like you said at the Final Four, just kind of holding court, just talking to a bunch of other coaches and people that would listen, and that is Huggy Bear himself, Coach Bob
Wow.
Huggins,
Number 4.
Number 4 on my list.
Wow.
The only reason I would say this, I mean, it's a young man's game, Coach. We know this, and I think Huggy Bear, he'll come out every once in a while for a Final Four or whatever, but he doesn't want to go out every single night. So I'll put him at number 4, give him some time to rest. But I think he's a good hang, right, Coach?
Great hang. One of the fun ones. If I could tell you the stories of the Hard Rock Cafe bar in Las Vegas after a day of watching games, 10, 15 years ago, he'd rocket to number 1 right away. But first of all, great coach, unbelievable coach, brilliant coach, and fun guy who gets it and keeps it in perspective.
You two are both credited for kind of starting the no tie movement. Have you argued about this? Who's the one? Who is the actual one? Who's the guy that said, "I'm not wearing a tie, to hell with ties"? Was it you or Huggy Bear?
Well,
Let's settle the debate.
It may have coincided around the same time. I had that bad-looking mock look for a long time. My daughter said, "Dad, you have got to change that, man. You look like you're at a ski lodge."
Or Ron Burgundy. Yeah, either one.
Yeah, it was bad. Ron Burgundy, no question. But Huggy has taken it a step further to the hot jacket. He just goes with the hot jacket.
Yeah.
And I have an assistant who wears a hot jacket every day. He's been with me 20 years. I call him Little Huggy. He's channeling Hugs in his look, but one of the fun guys, one of the good guys.
Love that.
All right, that's a good pick, Tate. I can't believe he's that low, though. My number 4 might be a controversial pick for some of the listeners. Been in the news lately for not always the right reasons, but we saw him in Maui, Tate. We fell in love with the man that he is. Bill Self is my pick, and it is very much just a Tate and I went to the Maui Invitational, Coach, and we just witnessed after Kansas won the Maui, just how Coach Self was carrying himself, and he looked like he was. I mean, he must have given you a run for the money in terms of your 20. What'd you guys win in 2017? Your 2017 and his 2020. Those have to have been the 2 greatest celebrations that coaches have ever had. We watched him just interacting with the pool. He's got the shirt off by the pool all day, just drinking all day, just having the time of his life. And I was like, that is a man. Say whatever you want about all the scandals surrounding Kansas and whatever. That's a man that I want to grab a beer with and just talk basketball.
You're right. Salt of the earth.
Yeah.
Salt of the earth, and one of the guys you want to hang out with. And I think the phrase is the kind of guy you'd want to have a beer with. Yeah. No question. Bill Self. I think like a lot of guys on this list, they're not taking himself too serious, knows how to smile, makes fun of himself, certainly an off-the-charts coach, and really understands the game. But you would never know that if you met him and you didn't know you just think he's another dude sitting in a restaurant hanging out. A lot of fun.
I couldn't believe he was poolside, just like with I guess Tate and I are kind of, we glorify college basketball too much. We assume that you guys are like operating on a different level, but he's down there with the commoners, just rubbing elbows. All these Kansas fans are coming up to him. He's taking pictures, and I was blown away by that because I thought, Bill Self would have had his own villa where he just ropes it off and he's got security and don't touch me or whatever. But no, he was mixing it up with everyone. So
yeah, I think in those settings, and again, the more veteran coach you become, and the more secure you are with your contract, you're more able to go out and hang out a little bit. If you're up against the wall, you're up watching video and tape and tight. But Bill's obviously he's in the Hall of Fame, proven guy, but he would be a guy that you want to hang with.
Well, Bill Self was probably going to be number 3 on my list, but I'm going to go ahead and call an audible here. He was in the Triangle. He was in Tempe. He went to Santa Clara, and that is Herb Sendek. And I don't know what Herb really knows because I don't know how much he's really shared to the world, but I know he's heard a lot. He's soaked in a lot of Rick Pitino. He's soaked in a lot of Coach K, a lot of Roy Williams, Dean Smith. And so I feel like he would have a lot of stories to tell.
And I think, and you mentioned, he's one of the more underrated guys throughout his career. He's probably about my age, right? At 60, 61. He's been in the business a long time. He is thought of as a great tactician and teacher, and he's maybe the most humble coach in college basketball. He just coaches his team, and doesn't really care about anything else. I've kind of lost a little bit of touch with him now that he's out on your coast, but certainly from Miami of Ohio, NC State, Arizona State, a proven guy. And you're right, at NC State, as you know, he's had to deal with Chapel Hill and Durham on a daily basis for 10 years. That's got to be hard, but he did it with great humility.
Let's let him vent. Give him a couple Appletinis and let him go.
Oh, he would have some great stuff living down there in that world for 10 years.
That's a good pick, Tate. All right. My number 3 coach is, this is biased. This is my Indiana shining through. I watched him coach at IUPUI for so many years. I think he might've tried to jack the mock turtleneck look from you there for a little while, but, his name is Ron Hunter. He's the head coach of Tulane. Every time I've ever seen Ron Hunter do an interview, a post-game press conference, whatever it is, it's hilarious. We talked about these coaches that don't take themselves too seriously. He seems like he's a ton of fun. We all remember when he fell off of it. He broke his leg or what did he tear a ligament winning the conference tournament?
The Achilles, yeah.
The Achilles, that's what it was. He tears his Achilles winning the conference tournament, and then he goes to the NCAA tournament. His son hits the shot. He falls off his little scooter. The guy just seems like he's a ton of fun. Also, he does a ton for charity too, so he's a good guy. I picked him. A lot of our listeners might not know a ton about Ron Hunter, but
I wish I could have half as much of his energy on a daily basis. He's got great juice. He's always smiling, always. Just and he was at IUPUI for a while when I was up in South Bend, and then Georgia State, now Tulane. We're on the NABC board together for a couple of years, but no. And when his son hit the shot and he fell off his chair is one of the golden moments, in the history of college basketball. But again, fun guy, good guy. You want to play around a golf with him. It'd be enjoyable.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Tate, we're down to our top 2 now. Go ahead.
All right, number 2 for me is a guy we already talked about, and it is Bill Self from the Kansas Jayhawks. And Bill Self is obviously, he's got the pot belly that we talked about at the Maui Invitational. He's salt of the earth. He's a man that if you ask him his favorite concert, he'll tell you something about the Allman Brothers back in the day when he showed up randomly and got a ticket from a friend of his. It's never a straight shooting story, but it's always a good story. So Bill Self, number 2 on my list. And Coach, you already said it. I mean, he's
great. Yeah, he's got to be on everybody's list.
We appreciate coaches that don't do the coach speak thing, and you're obviously one of them, Coach. But Bill Self is another one where they give you a real answer.
As much as he's won and all the successes, you would never know it. He just coaches his team and just one of the guys. A little bit of a kind of like a high school coach, man. Just gets in, it works with his guys, and doesn't lose sleep about it. But you've got him scouted right.
Yeah. Yes. All right. My number 2 pick is, again, another like personal slant to this, Larry Kristoviak of Utah. And the only reason I put him this high is because I've been to his hometown of Shelby, Montana. I think its population is like 2,000 or something. And I went into a random bar, Coach, one time. I was driving up to Canada. I was on a road trip, and I go into this tiny bar in Shelby, Montana, and there's a guy who's drunk as a skunk in there that's causing all sorts of commotion. And he's knocking beer glasses over and I'm looking at the guy like, this guy is out of control. The guy ends up he wins me over by buying me all the beer I want the rest of the night. And I was like, oh, I kind of like the guy. So as I'm leaving, I turn to the bartender and I'm like, what's this guy's story? I mean, why have you guys not kicked him out? He seems to be buying everyone drinks. He goes, oh, that's our mayor. And I said, what? And he goes, yeah, that's the mayor of Shelby. So then I look up Shelby. I see that Larry Kristoviak's from there. I reached out to Kristoviak. I kind of talked to him a little bit about it. And I said, anybody that's from Shelby, Montana has to be a fun hang. And so I put him that high on my list, even though I've never actually really met Larry Kristoviak or know a ton about him other than that.
Great call. And Utah is with Under Armour as us. And one of the things they used to do was bring all the coaches in for the Preakness. It's a Baltimore company. Kevin Plank has horses. And Larry comes rolling in. Now, he's a big dude, obviously played in the NBA, and I certainly wouldn't want to fight him. He comes rolling into the Under Armour tent at the Preakness with a cowboy hat and cowboy boots. He's probably 6'11" and ready to roll. And you got him scouted. Fun guy. It was one of the most fun days ever, smoking a couple cigars out right next to the track with Larry. You got him scouted right.
Yeah. I thought so. Yeah. All right.
All I see in my mind is Larry Kostoviak just running on top of the porta potties, having the beer thrown at him.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes. The old Preakness traditions, man.
That's good. All right. Number one for me, Coach, and this is going to be a pander, but I have my shirt on for you. You are number one on the list, and it's not because of anything other than the fact that you are Mr. Maui. We have Mr. March, we have Mr. December, which is Bobby Hurley. You were Mr. Maui. You were a man that knows how to take the Maui magic, encompass it, exude it, shoot it out to the world, let people enjoy the moment. So for that reason alone, the shirt off, all that sort of stuff, I have to put you number one on the list, Mr. Maui.
Well, I will take that. It's an honor. And in 2021, we're back in Maui. Will I see you guys there?
Absolutely.
You will.
How does that work, Coach? Do you have a standing 5-year thing with them? Is it 5 years that they have to?
It rolls.
It's every 4.
You got to give a 4-year window. I thought because of my sideline attire, the shorts and the T-shirt, they wouldn't invite me back, but maybe the shirt off after winning it got me re-invited. So
absolutely.
I don't know if you've looked at the field. They announced it about 2 weeks ago. The field is unbelievable. But that was a great experience, and to beat Wichita State and to win it, and it's a great event. But we're back in 21.
How do you take it to the next level? How do you take your attire next level for Maui?
I really have some things to think about because there's a lot of big expectations for me in 21 in Maui. And so I may have to come with a little something different, sideline attire. One thing it won't be, it'll be very loose, man. I can guarantee that.
I cannot wait. You have to give us the scoop on that, and we'll be sitting courtside covering the event, and
Could you coach with a shirt off? And
yes.
Why not?
Yes.
It's Maui. There are no rules.
Why not?
There are no rules.
Timeouts. Get some lotion on. We'll work with that.
Love it.
All right. Well, Tate pandered. We don't need to. My number one, since Tate pandered, I'll just for posterity, I'll say my number one's Bob Huggins as well. Tate. I had him at number one.
Nice.
The story I have, my experience being around Huggy Bear was going to the Final Four in San Antonio. Tate, as you said, he had the sweatpants. He has an aura about him where he goes to these events where there are other coaches, other people in college basketball. He puts his back up against the wall at a bar, and then he just sits there and he waits. And within 10 minutes, there's just a crowd around him listening and asking him. And he has this aura about him. He's a magnet. Everyone is drawn to him. They want to hear what he has to say. And I don't think that's a coincidence. The guy is just a fun hang. So
some of the most fun I had with Bob is back in the old Big East days.
Oh yes, we love those days.
Our Big East meetings were at Ponte Vedra in Jacksonville, and you'd have the dinner on one of the nights when they went through talked about it, and then we'd end up in the hotel bar, and there was no curfew. It went. Jay Wright is at Villanova, Steve Lavin's at St. John's at the time. Certainly Coach Boeheim's there. Gino Ariema, because the women's coaches are there. He partakes. There were some nights there where all I know is the next morning at the meetings, the assistant from the Big East would go around and hand out Advil because she could tell we had a long night, but a lot of fun.
Oh, that's great. Who are some people we missed, Coach? Who are some obvious guys we left off here?
Yeah, who's a great Brad Brunell at Clemson. Soul of the earth. He's in that next generation of guys. He's coming up carrying the flag and really, really a good guy. I tell you what, it's fun to hang with Collins and Wojciechowski out on the road. They're young guys, and I certainly got a chance to coach them. Those guys they're pretty good dudes, man, to hang out with. So, overall, we got some really neat guys in the profession, and I think more and more of them are taking themselves less serious, and that's probably a good thing.
Yeah, I think so. I would agree with you.
Could I slide Ed Orgeron in?
Yes. Oh yeah, absolutely.
As a writing vote. I just want to hang out with him.
Yeah, I feel like football. The list would be. We're talking like you could put 100 guys on the. Football.
Oh, you could.
Yeah,
that's a different breed of cat.
Yeah. Those football guys are crazy. All right, I wanted to do a rapid fire before we let you go because we're taking enough of your time. I know everyone says they have nothing to do, but surely you have better things to do than hang out with us all day. Okay, so I want to do a rapid fire because we could talk to you for 5 hours, but I wanted to make sure I got some of these questions in. Who would you say is the best Notre Dame player you ever coached?
Ooh.
I had Troy Murphy. His last year was my first year. And he probably was the most overall gifted guy I had. I did not recruit Troy, but I was blessed enough to coach him a year. And he had a 12, 13-year NBA career and was just, really an extremely gifted player.
All right, that would probably be the answer. That's what I was expecting you to
agree
say.
with that, right?
Yeah, that's what I was expecting you to say that.
There's probably about 12 guys pissed at me when they see this later, but that's
right.
Yeah, let me just say, top of the list, Matt Doherty. He's probably pissed about that. He's like, yeah, that's my guy.
Hey, Coach, when you play North Carolina, be honest. In the history of you coaching, since Roy got to North Carolina, what is it, 17 years now? He's been at Carolina. Yeah. And all the times you played him, have you and him ever laughed privately about Matt Doherty, about how you took over for Matt Doherty? And
no, we have not.
I'm trying to get you in trouble. I shouldn't have said that.
No, well, the one thing I say about Matt is he left the cupboard stocked for me. He left. I thought I had a shot at the job the year before, and I interviewed, and Matt got the job. Never did I think I would have got the job, and he would leave after a year. But the Carolina family called him home, and Ryan Humphrey, my current assistant, was sitting out that he recruited. Chris Thomas committed that he recruited. So I give him credit for leaving me with some dudes to coach that first year.
Well, that's funny because wasn't it like Roy trying to go to Carolina and he wasn't quite like, Tate, isn't that the story that he wasn't quite ready and he wanted to see out the Coliseum?
The Heinrich, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So Doherty taking the job there bought Roy enough time to then.
The thing that Roy and I laugh about, and we did, this was way back, even before we were in the same league with him. I teased him. I said, when you turned down, the dominoes fell. When you turned down the Carolina job in 2000, they went immediately to the family and hired Matt, and it opened up the opportunity for me at Notre Dame again. And there was actually a Sports Illustrated article. You guys should look that up in like 2000 on how the dominoes all fell and who was affected by Roy not taking the Carolina job.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's crazy.
It was an interesting story.
All right, another rapid fire question here. What would you say is the who's the biggest star on campus? You, Brian Kelly, or Muffet McGraw?
Muffet McGraw by far. He runs South Bend, and they had a tough year this year because they lost 5 pros the year before. But their program's really been an inspiration for us. Her and I are close friends. And they have had a machine, quite frankly. We just moved into a new practice facility, so we kind of see each other more. But it's her world. We're all just living in it.
All right, that's that. I thought you were going to say that as well. Old Big East versus new ACC, the current iteration of the ACC.
You're going to get me in trouble, but I'll tell you what, I do miss that old Big East.
Yes.
I miss playing in the Garden every year for our tournament. The other thing that we've lost out on, and I'm trying to do it in our non-league scheduling, us playing those old Catholic schools of the Big East. Obviously, we are a Catholic school to play Marquette, which we are starting a series with them in a year or two. Georgetown, Villanova, we still play BC, but the Catholic school matchups, we lost that when we left. Now, don't get me wrong. This league we're in now is amazing, and it's been kind of a new challenge and almost like taking a new coaching job 7 years ago because it's new prep. But there's some things about that old Big East that I do miss. Like, for example, in the ACC tournament, wherever it is, it's always very cordial. You have a Georgia Tech section, and they're all dressed in black and gold, and then there's the Carolina section, and everybody's dressed in their Carolina blue. In the Garden for the Big East tournament, they were fighting in the same. Yeah, there was something about the Big East tournament. There was an edge about it that I do miss in the Garden.
We love the old Big East. We cannot get enough of old Big East stories. It is fantastic. All right, I think this is my last one. If you had to be in quarantine with one of these 3 people, who are you picking? And your options are Dickie V, Digger Phelps, or Lou Holtz. Who is your quarantine partner, Coach?
Is there none of the above?
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Lou because
Okay.
I haven't spent as much time with Lou. He doesn't live in South Bend anymore. I see Coach Phelps all the time, and he's always giving me advice, and God love him. I love him to death. And I see Dickie V a lot because he does games, and he comes back in the fall because his daughters are Notre Dame grads. Lou, I've only had a little bit of touch with, and to hang out with him and to hear some of his stories,
Yeah, that'd be great.
That'd be worth it.
I lied. I had one more. How did you convince Luke Herringody to come back to school and change his name to Jack Cooley? How hard of a process was that for you?
The one thing that used to piss Herringody off the most is when people would say during his senior year, "Is that your little brother?"
Oh my gosh, yes.
Oh my God, he used to get so pissed off. And of course, Jack had a great career for us. But yeah, we can just find dudes like that, can't we? At Notre Dame, we find a lot of guys that look like that. We play like that.
Yeah, we love it. Hey, what else we got for him?
I was going to say Jack Cooley is our favorite G League player, our favorite guy that we see at Summer League every single year. We're like, is Jack Cooley on a roster? Boom. We're back. Summer League's back. Let's watch this man ball out. I love all that, and we appreciate you coming on, Coach. We appreciate what you do at Notre Dame. And has Regis Philbin ever called you personally to talk about Notre Dame basketball?
Personally, I've only met him at a couple, home football games. But yeah, he, of course, he's off the radar now in retirement. But he was one of ours. Hey, do you guys have you had Saban on?
Oh no.
No. Well, here's the thing, and maybe you could reach out to him. Did you guys see that special where he talked about playing pickup basketball with his football guy? There was a thing back in the fall about how he plays pickup and everybody's afraid to call fouls and his team always wins. I want to get invited to the Alabama football staff pickup game, and I'm going to post Nick Saban up long.
Yeah.
Send a message to him.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of game do you have? What was your game at George Washington?
But
post him up.
I'm a combo guard. Combo guard. Okay. I was a point guard who was not allowed to shoot. So
I get you.
When I finally got out of that, you shot a lot.
Coach, be honest. You're the coach who does the move where you're doing rebounding drills with your team. You don't put the bubble in and you say, I'm gonna miss on purpose, and then you just keep making. You're like, damn, I don't know what's wrong with me. I can't miss today. I love those coaches. I always love those coaches growing up.
I have a good bubble story. Jay Billis came to practice from Michigan State once. This was 12, 15 years ago when I had David Graves and Matt Carroll. There's some names past. And we've always had guys that could fill it up. And he goes, Mike, I was at Izzo's practice yesterday. God, did I see this unbelievable drill. They put this bubble on the rim so the ball can't go in. And these guys are just going off rebounding. I said, Jay, with my shooters, if I put a bubble on the rim and Graves and Carroll don't see it go in on their second or third shot, they're going to go in the transfer portal, man. We don't use the bubble.
That's fantastic. I would have loved to play for you, Coach. We'll save that for another time. That I grew up in Indiana, and I was an in-state kid that never got letters from Notre Dame. We'll have that discussion maybe later.
We'll get back on with you when the season starts next year, hopefully, right? Hopefully.
All right, we'll make that happen. If nothing else, lock it in. 2021 Maui Invitational. We are going to do a big blowout at there. So
we'll see you there, and I want you guys no shirts with just lays on at the Notre Dame game.
You got it, Coach.
We appreciate it so much. Thanks for joining us. Stay safe out there. Enjoy your Zoom calls.
For the best access, perspective, and personalities in all of sports, follow us at Fox Sports on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.